Welcome back. It is now time for Resolution Games CEO Tommy Palm to present. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you. So yes, my name is Tommy Palm. I'm the founder and CEO of Resolution Games. We're a VR studio making games for what we call visual computing. So both virtual reality and a little bit of augmented reality. These are two technologies that are in the makings, so to speak. We're at the early stage of this. We have a big office here in Stockholm, just next to where we're standing right now, with almost 100 people. And it's a very exciting time in the market right now when a lot of things is happening. So to this date, mobile games have been the biggest gaming platform so far. And we believe that VR and AR will be even bigger than that. And traditionally, as new game platforms are introduced, new leaders have been able to grow from those platforms. And clearly, you can see historically that those leaders tend to take a rather large chunk of the market, 2% or up. And we believe that we're in a very good position to become one of these leaders. Right now, we have the most games of any other VR studio released on Oculus Quest, which is one of the biggest VR systems in the market. So very exciting time right now. I want to start showing a part of a bigger chart that's showing the rise of different platforms. And here in the red, you can see mobile games, which is the biggest game platforms, as I said, with about $85 billion revenue last year. And the whole gaming market, according to this chart, is 165 billion. And you can see VR as a very slim little tail that's been around now. Our company started in the beginning of 2015, and the first commercial VR hardware came out in the end of that year, I think. And then 2016 was a big year when a lot of people invested money in VR, but it was still too early. It was there was a hype and then a reduction in the market. But you will typically have that behavior on different platforms. But now we are in a very much stronger position with hardware. I mentioned the Oculus Quest, which is a headset that is owned by Facebook. And that is a standalone headset, doesn't require any other computer or something. You just buy the headset for $300, and you can then download games directly to that. And that's been working really great. So that's good to see. I am having some technical difficulty, I think. Hang on. I'll try to go back here. Sorry about that. All right, I'm not quite sure. Are you familiar with this, or could you get somebody to help us here? Yes. Det ser ut som att det funkar på den nästa slide, liksom. All right. I'll continue from here. Sorry for that. As I said, we're about 100 people in the company right now. Most of us are here in Stockholm. We raised a Series A round back in 2015. And since we also raised a B round, in total of $13.5 million. We've been profitable for the last 5 years. And we have some great investors behind us, like Google Ventures, Partech, Creandum, and Bonnier. Also GP Bullhound. And it's been a very productive time for us. Our first game, Bait, was released in 2016. It's one of the biggest games in terms of downloads on VR right now, with more than 4 million downloads. I think we have released 14 games so far. So we've been able to both grow the company rather rapidly and still keep profits up a little bit. We had a turnover about $9.2 million last year, and we're more than doubling that this year. So here's a timeline of some of the games that we released. More notable is that the games we have done for the last 2 years or so have been focused on multiplayer. That's been something that we are huge believers in. One of the fantastic things with virtual reality is that you have this sense of presence. So if you are playing together with somebody else or being in a virtual world with somebody else, it feels like you're actually very close to each other, even though you might be on the different side of the globe. But in the beginning of an industry, it's very hard to make multiplayer games, as there's just not enough people concurrently online. But that has been changing lately, and we have released several successful multiplayer games, such as Acron and Blaston, and now recently a game called Demio. And it is a little bit more technically complex to make multiplayer games, but there's a great benefit if you succeed. People are more willing to engage longer in the game and pay more as well. In the past, we have been focusing a lot on games that are rather family friendly and not violent, that can be open for anyone. We believe strongly that this is going to be a really big game platform with appeal to everyone, just not the traditional gamers. Most of the IPs we have done internally, but with Angry Birds we collaborated with Rovio and licensed their IP for a game called Isle of Pigs. That's been successful. We launched that back in 2017. But as I said, now the focus have been more on multiplayer. Blaston is a title that is something between a game and the sport. So you duel against other people and you have to dodge bullets. So you grab toy-like guns from midair and shoot at your opponent. And it's very physically demanding, as you need to really move your body. Like Neo in Matrix was a reference that we had when we developed the game. Just a month ago, we released Demio, which has been a top seller in both the Oculus Quest market and also on Steam. It's more of a tabletop RPG game where you move miniatures, either with people online or with your friends over the internet. We are continue betting heavily on these type of worlds where you are in the game simultaneously and talk to other people. We also make sure that it's very interesting to spectate the game. A really strong trend in gaming in general is people love to watch matches and game material, both on flat screen, on YouTube and Twitch, but also in virtual reality. We have developed a backend platform, a set of APIs that we use, that we call internally Fidelity, that helps us build games quicker and go to market. A lot of the components we can reuse. Other than that, we build this on top of existing game engines. As I mentioned, the VR market has been had its up and downs quite a lot. It started. I tested VR back in '92 the first time, and I was convinced that this was tech that would happen eventually. You can now be inside of the video games, which is an incredibly powerful thing. But in 2016, the big hope didn't really pay off as it was very expensive, and you needed to be tethered to a computer, which was rather awkward and scared away a lot of the more casual components. But that has been solved with some of the newer platforms. So we are seeing a lot of growth and a lot of interest starting now, especially driven by the US, where about 70% of our paying customers come from. In Sweden, where we are right now, it's been a little bit slow on the uppick. We're a very small country, but we're very strong at developing games, which is great. So hopefully we can be part of this really big trend that is happening. I like to compare it with the rise of home computers or internet, the impact that it will have on businesses and our everyday life. It's very hard to see what services it will lead to, but it will be very transformative. And if you're following Facebook's quarterly reports, Mark Zuckerberg has said that about 10,000 people in their organization is working very hard on virtual reality and augmented reality. A lot of the tech giants in the US are betting heavily on these platforms, which is very exciting. This is a chart from Ernst & Young projecting the growth of the VR and AR market. And we can see that just the video game segment is somewhere in the $27 billion in 2025. We definitely believe that this will be a really big market, and having 2% of that market would lead to an annual revenue about more than $500 million. So that could put the valuation to the company in the billions, which is an exciting opportunity to strive for. We believe as a company that our areas of focus needs to be on the things that are pretty difficult to master. So around spectating, building communities. We have recently released a social hangout to one of our games, and the idea is to bring that social hangouts to more games, so that you can meet up with people very easily. And we see that is working really well. We've also integrated with other services, like Discord, for instance, is a very big flat screen service for gamers where they can go in and chat. And that also helps mitigate. You can't today bring VR to your school break or something like that. But with a Discord you can have on your mobile, so you can connect with the community and continue the conversation outside the actual games, which is one of the really great things with games, that they are very interactive and social experience. And I think that we're seeing this transformation happening everywhere in society. Recently read about alcohol consumption going down in teens, and I definitely think that the interest around video games is one of the contributing factors, something like that. All right, that's all what I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tommy. This really feels like a glimpse into the future, both short-term, mid-term, and long-term. And it strikes me with VR that this kind of followed the pretty common pattern that at first expectations are really high that things are going to happen tomorrow, and then they didn't, and everyone was like, okay, that's gonna be a long time before we see a major change. And now I think people are rather underestimating the change that is coming short term. You touched upon that in your presentation, showing us some nice graphs taking off. You mentioned that the platforms are the enablers of this taking place now. Is it just the platforms, or could you give us some more flavor to why it's happening now?
Well, I think it's like always in these scenarios, it's a combination, of course, of the hardware that needs to be good enough. And then when the hardware is good enough, then the ball is in the court of the software developers like us. And the experience you have to that you have has to be great enough for you to want to come back. And of course, it's pretty uncomfortable to actually strap something on your face and have it over your hair. So social experience, for instance, is a great example of when it's totally worth it. If you're far away, and we recently came through a pandemic where I think, unfortunately, it would have been great if more people had VR at home and would be comfortable using them. So grandma, for instance, could
VR instead of FaceTime.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's definitely one of the places where virtual reality and augmented reality will shine through and then eventually replace what video calls.
So you're one of the leading companies within this space. Are there any competitors you could mention for us?
Yes, we have a few good companies here in Sweden, like Fast Travel Games. It's a studio. There is also great companies in England, like Endreams, and a lot of the initiatives are in the US. So the biggest competitors to us, I think, is companies like Rec Room and VR Chat, that is focusing on the social component itself and looking at metrics around people staying around and coming back and engagement. That is the key factor here.
Mm. And applications outside of the entertainment industry, you mentioned kind of staying in touch with your loved ones. Anything else you would like to point out?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit on physical activity, and I think that's a really interesting one. A lot of people my age start to worry about moving enough. You have a very stationary job, and with virtual reality, you can have a virtual gym in your home without even thinking about it. You're doing something incredibly fun, and you're losing a lot of calories. That I think can be very, very positive. We've seen that with young people. They're also a little bit too stationary when they play in general. But since in virtual reality you're using your hands and you track the body, then it's very positive on that aspect. We also have traveling, for instance, which is another strong virtual traveling.
So you could experience like Times Square or those type of places in virtual reality, you mean?
Absolutely. Or what better place to learn a language than sitting on a nice outside cafe in France and talking to the waiter, and you can really simulate very exotic experiences. Okay, and what do we have to look forward to from you in the next year or so? If you could, tease us or make some, a wish list. Yeah, so we recently released Demio, as I said, 1 month ago, and that's been received really, really strongly. We had more than $500,000 sale in less than 48 hours, and typically you have a very nice longevity of these type of games that continue to sell after a while. So we're working very hard with that. We're releasing a module, like a little booklet, that will be the next adventure here in the summer. Other than that, we're kind of doubling down on the social aspects of playing VR games.
Okay, so just finally, on a personal note, being the father of two small kids, I would like to advise you to, in every game, put in some sequence after a preset time of amount of time to, okay, let's take a break, kids, you know, do some nice movements, stay healthy. Perhaps that won't improve your key metrics from day one, but still in the long run, I think it will be appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Nintendo has done a tremendous job on doing that and really kind of making sure that everything is family friendly. And I think they're really showing how things should be done. Perfect.
So thank you once again for a very interesting presentation. And I think the future looks very bright for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to be here.